Good morning. It is a bright Thursday morning here in the south. Looks like it's going to be another nice day. And we had a very light night of hockey last night on the in the NHL, but there was one game that was nationally televised on NBC Sports Network that I watched, and that was the New York Rangers against the Detroit Red Wings. And it was a pretty good game, low-scoring affair. The Red Wings ended up winning the game 2-1, but it was a pretty good game. The other game last night was the Jets versus the Maple Leafs. And I kind of wish I watched that game too, because it just didn't hit me until after the game that was a matchup. Whoa, the sun is right there. That was a matchup between the top two picks in this past summer's draft. Of course, Austin Matthews going to Toronto, number 1 overall, and Patrick Laine going to Winnipeg at number 2 overall. And as it turned out, the game was a 5-4 win for Winnipeg. Patrick Laine got his first hat trick in the NHL. Matthews didn't do a whole lot last night, but that appeared to be a pretty good game as well. So, but aside from the two games last night, while the game was going on, I mean, yeah, I did have it on, the Rangers and the Red Wings, and I was watching at times. When you're trying to get an audience built, you don't spend a whole lot of time just simply watching games. So I was working on a lot of other things while the game was on. If you've seen some of the other videos on my YouTube channel, particularly one from earlier this week, you see that my quote-unquote war room, or my office, is set up to be able to do a lot of things at once. So I have the TV up on the wall, and then I've got the computers down on the desk, and I can have a game up on the TV while working on stuff. So that's essentially what I was doing last night. And I was working on show prep for our weekly podcast that we do. So if you happen to be near a computer tonight around 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which is about 10 hours from now, a little less than 10 hours from now, you'll be able to watch us as we record our weekly podcast, the Hockey Nuts Podcast, because we stream that recording live on YouTube every week. So it's an opportunity to see basically how the sausage is made. We do the recording, and then I do after we're done recording, I do some editing to add some music and make it sound a little bit more interesting, and then we put it out there as a podcast. So, and besides the recording of our podcast, which we record a little bit before NHL action begins, we've got a ton of games tonight, as Thursdays generally are. very busy. As far as the games tonight, we've got the Devils playing the Bruins at Boston at 7 p.m. We have the Ducks going to Philadelphia to play the Flyers at 7. We got the Sharks playing the Penguins also at 7. At 7:30, we've got the Coyotes visiting the Canadiens. We've got the Avalanche visiting the Lightning. Capitals are visiting the Panthers. And the Maple Leafs are visiting the Wild. Oh, I'm sorry, that one is an 8 o'clock game. The Kings are visiting the Stars at 8:30. The Hurricanes are still out west on their long opening road trip, and they are playing the Flames at 9. The Blues are visiting the Oilers also at 9. And then in the final game of the night, the Sabres are visiting the Canucks. That game starts at 10 p.m. So, assuming I don't have to ref tonight, I'm not scheduled to ref, but you never know. Sometimes guys give up games at late notice. I will be. It'll be another night of me playing jump around the TV screen, trying to catch a little bit of every game. There's quite a few games there that I've got to do. You know, I've got my NHL.tv set up, and we will get everything done. My primary focus obviously will be on the Bruins, and then I'll probably flip over to the Hurricanes once the Bruins are done. But during commercial breaks and between periods, I'll be flipping around some of the other games. So I just wish they had like what the NFL has for the NHL. I understand why they don't, because you can anticipate scores in football as teams get close to the end zone. You can see that, but in hockey, almost every score is you can't just, they happen so fast you can't anticipate. So I get it that they don't have a jump around channel where they jump around from game to game. Well, what they could do is every time a team goes on a power play, they could put the game on that way. But anyway, that's just my opinion. But I will do my best to do that in my house for myself with all the games that I've got on the computer. So with that, I'll go ahead and end it pretty quickly. You know, there wasn't a whole lot going on last night, so there's not a whole lot to talk about today. I'll certainly have a lot more to talk about tomorrow. But again, if you're going to be if you're catching this before we record our podcast, by all means, stop in, hang out in the chat. We do hang out in the chat a little bit before we start recording and a little bit after we finish recording to answer any questions that do come up. While we are recording, though, I don't pay any attention to the chat, so your answer, or if you ask a question during the podcast recording, I probably won't see it until we're done. So with that, I'll go ahead and finish, and until tomorrow, see ya.